I'm here. Dennis is there. Florida State is mad. Let's just take roll.
Yep.
ACC should be furious. Everyone involved in the Atlantic Coast Conference should be furious. Everybody involved in the future of the Atlantic Coast Conference should be furious. Florida State should be in the college football playoff. I don't have to make it more specific than that. Right? We could and we likely will, but it doesn't have to be more complicated than they should be in. And I'll actually raise my hand on this one. This one's kind of our fault. I started a campaign a few weeks ago. I said it is shaping up for Florida State to get pushed out of the college football playoff if a few certain things break our way, or break the other way, I should say. And I said we need to get ahead of it. We need to campaign. We need everybody to know we didn't do enough, obviously. We could see it coming. We weren't run over by a race car. We were run over by a steamroller, right? It was slow and predictable. We saw it coming. You knew they weren't going to keep the SEC out. You knew they should keep the SEC out, and you knew they wouldn't keep the SEC out. And I stand on that. E.J. Manuel played for Florida State. Now he works for ACC Network. He thinks it's a travesty.
This is completely wrong. This is a crime, or not necessarily a crime, but a travesty truly to the players of this Florida State team who were able to show resilience, were able to show endurance, were able to show that they can win in multiple ways. And guys, isn't that what football is about? When did football become the game of quarterback? It's the game of football. And ultimately, if you have a team that can win a game without their star player and you still finish undefeated, you beat your rival on the road right here with Tate Rodemaker, you have an ACC Championship game with your third-string quarterback, and you still beat them. You also put up more offensive yards than the Michigan team against Iowa in their conference championship, but they're a Power 5 conference champion, and they're now in the college football playoff as the number 1 team, and Florida State is left out at number 5. I understand Alabama beats Georgia. Texas also beat Alabama, but ultimately this is a travesty to this Florida State football team. I feel bad for the players.
It's funny. Okay, well, let me just break it down the most simple way I can. Everybody wants to talk good wins. Who has the better wins? Who has the bigger wins? Who has the better wins? Well, guess what we've talked about every other year? We've talked about good wins and we've talked about bad losses. No one wants to bring up bad losses when arguing for why Florida State should not be in. Do you know why? Because they don't have any. No one wants to talk about bad losses or better losses because Florida State has the best loss. No loss. In the interest of hearing both sides, here's shill for the SEC, Paul Feinbaum.
They did get it right, Greeny, and can we all just stop with the fake outrage from the Florida State AD and the president? I get the coach, I get the players, but the rest of the people just need to shut up already. This is college football. It is not a perfect system. We have controversy every year. It helps fuels in what makes the sport great. And for the coach to say it's a sad day in college football, I saw people celebrating all over the place. I think we have an amazing game. Michigan and Alabama, please, Michigan was upset. They have to play Alabama. And let's not forget, and Heather alluded to it, Greeny, why is Alabama in this game? They beat Georgia. Remember Georgia? They were the number 1 team in the country all year. They were the 2-time defending champions going for a three-peat. That impressed the committee, and then the committee sat there and watched that travesty from the ACC Championship game. Not a travesty from the standpoint that Florida State doesn't have an elite defense. They're fantastic, but they had no offense, and they simply did not want to see another TCU disaster in one of the games coming up here at the end of the month.
All right, Paul. Got a few things for you, okay? First of all, if we're picking just games that are entertaining, I need Ohio State and Georgia in the mix. Like, let's be real, right?
Yeah.
If we're just picking off of entertaining games, we need to just look at entertaining. But you're only doing that, I guess, between Alabama and Florida State, which doesn't seem to make any sense. Also, if we're talking entertaining, Michigan, not entertaining. Not entertaining at all.
Far from it.
Actually, kind of boring. You may say, oh, wait a second. Hold on 1 second. Did you hear about the quarterbacks for Florida State? Well, how about this? Did you hear about J.J. McCarthy the last 3 weeks, the quarterback of Michigan? 141 yards passing, 147 yards passing, 148 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. That's over the last 3 games. Oh, that's the quarterback that's playing so well. We need to get him in there.
That's sexy.
That's Tate Rodemacher numbers right there. Oh, wait, that's the guy who's not good enough to get Florida State in. And listen, I keep saying I don't want to make it complicated, but it's impossible not to counter every argument with a more logical argument. They played a Power 5 conference schedule. Florida State did. They scheduled 2 SEC non-conference games, including one with the likely Heisman Trophy winner, Jaden Daniels. They won every game, including their conference championship. There is no bit of logic that holds up that puts them in the 5th spot in the country.
And those 2 games, neutral site against LSU and at Florida.
What else you want them to do? There's no bit of logic that ends up with Florida State in 5th unless you're saying we're judging them with their backup quarterback as significantly worse, in which case they're not 5th. They're 15th. Right? There's no way they're better than Georgia with their backup quarterback, but they're worse than Alabama. There's not that big gap there. If you are picking the team that is best right now and would be favored by Vegas, which is the dumbest argument ever. But if that's what you were going by, then you have Ohio State and Georgia probably in the top 4. If you are picking the top teams based on results, which is the only way to go by it, you have Florida State in the top 4. And I'm not like the games have to matter, yes, but also like the resumes have to matter, yes. I almost said Michigan State. I was about to mix Florida State and Michigan. Maybe I was going to do that simply because they look so darn similar on paper. Michigan's strength of schedule is not, if it is better, it's not much better than Florida State's. Their eye test, their razzle-dazzle score, their entertainment score, not better than Florida State's. Their most recent victory, not better than Florida State's. The fact of the matter is, last week, Florida State with a backup quarterback coming off the Florida game was better, according to the rankers, than Texas. Okay? We all on board? Texas beat a worse team, according to the rankers, than Florida State did. Florida State beat Louisville, who was ranked higher than Oklahoma State. Mm-hmm. Why in the world would Texas jump over Florida State? There's not a single bit of logic. There's a lot of people saying, I watch, I know. I'm going, well, you didn't know last week and you know this week? What changed? Mike Greenberg breaks it down.
13 people making the subjective, not objective decision that they aren't as good anymore left them out of it. You know what happened yesterday? Football became figure skating. Figure skating is something that judges decide because there is no objective way to decide if you were the better figure skater. But there is an objective way to judge football teams based on what they did.
It's actually not even that good. Because figure skating, there are like point totals assigned, right? If you do this trick and you do it flawlessly, you get this many points.
Yeah.
It's actually more like So You Think You Can Dance. Mm-hmm. It's more like American Idol. It's more like
America's Got Talent.
Yeah, America's Got Talent. It's more like that. You just got 4 judges sitting at a desk, varying degrees of fame, deciding based on who knows what. You just got that it factor, golden buzzer. That's what it is. I mean, it's that subjective, it's that random, and it's that unfair, which, by the way, is one of the reasons we come to sports, to get away from all of that. Sports is simple. You cross the line, the end line, right, the goal line, more often than your opponent. You kick it through the field goal more often than your opponent. You score more points, you win. In basketball, you put the ball through the hoop more often than your opponent, you win. Mm-hmm. In baseball, you cross the home plate more often than your opponent, you win. You don't need somebody in the stands going, actually, I liked them better. You don't need that. They've turned sports into that for no reason. If you're a Power 5 team, you go undefeated, you schedule aggressively in non-conference, you beat all of them, you go to the college football playoff. You just do. And the ramifications of you getting your power trip over your head are going to extend much further than just messing over the players on Florida State this year. The ACC is going to be messed over. It's going to hurt media rights. It's going to hurt financial inequalities. It's going to hurt everything else going on in college sports because you couldn't get out of your own way. I'm talking to the committee specifically. I'm talking to the people that set up the committee. I'm talking to the people that set up a 4-game playoff, which we all knew was ridiculous. Why in the world would you have a 4-game playoff when you have a Power 5 conferences? You're just asking for 5 undefeated conference champions.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen with 5 of them, but it might as well have because you kicked one out.